Hello, this is Professor Salahat again, and in this video here, we're going to try to work on number 24 from homework 5. And in number 24, they say a research institute poll asked respondents if they felt vulnerable to identity theft. In the poll, N is equal to 1049. In other words, they surveyed a total of 1,049 people. X, which is equal to 600. In other words, based on the question was, did you feel vulnerable to identity theft? And the answer will be yes or no. So this is the number of the yes, which is 600 people. Now in here, they tell us to use a confidence level of 95%. And the first thing they want us to do is find the best point estimate. Notice that, in other words, in here is if I want to start somewhere, the best point estimate is if you want to start somewhere, and if somebody tells you to guess the population proportion, where do you start? Remember, in this class, we learned that we don't really give a specific number, but if we want to start the guess process, we're going to start with p hat. We know that the sample proportion is the best guess for the population proportion. So our best point estimate will be p hat. And notice that p hat is the proportion. The proportion is dividing n, or I'm sorry, dividing x over n. So in this case, x is equal to 600 and n is 1049. So if I want to start somewhere, I will start with this number. So if you grab your calculator in here and do the math, 600 divided by 1049, and that's going to give you around 57%, 0.57. Let me just put four numbers, or like four numbers, 20. So this is around 57.2%. So that is, again, in the problem here, they want only three numbers. So we're going to put 0.57. Remember, if I want to go with this, based on my calculation, the number was 0.57197, and so on. So if I want to go to three places, I have to put a 2. So 0.572. And that should be the correct answer. The second thing, they ask us to find the error. I'm not going to find the error here. I'm going to go and find the interval, and I'll tell you why. So this is part A. I'm going to go to part C. And in part C, I'm predicting that part C, they want us to find the interval. So I'm going to go to stat. I'm going to go to proportion stat. One sample with summary. And then what we will do is we fill the number of successes and number of observations. And then we put the C in and see what we get. Notice that the number of successes in this case is given. It is 600. We don't use the proportion, we use number of successes. And number of observations in this problem is 1049. And the confidence level in the problem mentioned to be 95%. So let's fill those in into stat crunch and see what we get. So we're going to come in here, we're going to go to stat, proportion stat, one sample with summary, and number of successes is 600. Number of observations is 1049. And then after that, we're going to go to the confidence level, which is 95%. Make sure you check the box in the circle in there. And it's 95%, don't change it, and hit compute. And that is going to give you a confidence interval. Let me just give the interval this way. The interval starts from the left by 0.5420, and from the right is 0.6019. I went 4 places. Now, let me go back and see what they want in here. The first question they want in part B, they want to find the margin of error. Notice that we know that the best point estimate is the middle. The middle here is p hat, and we are calculated p hat, and p hat is going to be equal to 0.572. So let's go with those numbers to 2 or 3 places also. So this will be 2 here. Now, we know that the error is the distance or the difference in here from here to there. So the error in this case is going to be 0.572 minus 0.542. And if you do the math in here, it's going to be equal to 0.30. So it's going to be a point. So that is our difference. Again, always the difference between the lower limit and the middle is equal to the margin of error. So if we do that, it's going to give us that number. Notice that this number is the same as 0.03, which is the same as 3%. So the question in here, they want us to write the answer in decimal format. So we're going to put 0.03. Now, remember, they asked 3 places, so you're going to add another 0. If you don't put another 0, it is okay. So if you check the answer, that's good. So what we did is we found the interval, and from the interval, we were able to calculate the error. The last thing in here is they tell you, okay, construct the confidence interval. We did already. The lower number is here, and the upper number is there. So the lower number is, and they want 3 places, so we're going to put it in here, which is 0.542. And the upper number is going to be 0.602. And when we check those two, we get the correct answer. Again, the third one, or the last choice in here is, we're going to write a statement about this confidence interval. Now notice that always confidence intervals are confidence levels. They are not probabilities, and it's about a proportion or a population proportion. Notice the first one automatically is not, because it talks about sample proportion. We don't want it. The second one, it says there are 95% chance. Chance is a probability. A confidence interval is not a chance. It's not a probability. So that's not correct. Now the third one, or part C, is one has 95% confidence that the interval from the lower bound to the upper bound actually does contain the true value of the population proportion. This talks about confidence and it talks about population proportion. That is the one. If we go to C, 95% of sample proportions will fall. That is not true, because this is the same as the chance. So we're gonna, the part D, it doesn't talk about confidence. It talks about 95% of samples. It's not, I am 95% confident. So therefore, we're gonna choose the C, and the C is the correct answer. Finally, we're gonna move to the last one. Last one is number 25. In number 25 says, in a survey of, so this is N, equal to 3,028 people, adults, age 57 to 85 years of old. So we're talking about in here people between the age of 57 to 85, retired or close to retirement. It was found that 87.1% of them, so that is p hat. Remember, the minute they give you a proportion, it is a p hat. 87.1% of them. Now, if you want to find x, you multiply this 0.871 of, you learned about of in the past, that of means multiplication. So this is the same as p hat times n. So n is 3028. So if you want to know what x is, just multiply those two numbers. I'm going to multiply them now. 0.871 times 3028, and that gives me, and again, I don't want to round this number for accuracy at this minute, 2637.388. So that is the number that I get. Now if you go back in here, it says how many of the 3028? How many, in other words, what is x? And we want to round to the nearest integer. So in this case, we're going to round 2637. That is how many. Okay. Now, they were asked a question. How many? Notice that the problem says it was found that 87.1% of them use at least one prescription medication. So the question was, do you use at least one prescription medication? Yes or no? So a total of 2,637 said yes, and the remainder said no. Now, the second one talks about constructing an interval. So to construct an interval for a proportion, we talked about this many times. we're going to open. And again, let me just minimize this for a second. They want an interval to be 90%. So they are asking us C to be 90%. So they said construct a 90% confidence interval. Okay, so if I go in here, try to open the StatCrunch, I'll go to stat. This is a proportion problem. You're going to go to proportion stat. Notice that they never mentioned the term mean or the word mean. It's always proportion, proportion, proportion. So proportion, again, oops, stat, then proportion, one sample with summary. Then the number of successes, you can use 26, 37. Remember, you can stop here or you can use just all of it for accuracy. At the end, you can round. Number of observations in this case is 3,028. Notice that this is here 3,028. So 3,028, and they want us to use a 90% confidence level. So here is 90, and hit compute, and the answer we got in here, and we assume we're going to have 3 places, going to be 0.861 and 0.881. So that's the interval here. The left limit and right limit are given to 3 places. So let's put this down, and they want it. Oh, let me go back. I need more digits. So let me delete this because this is a different problem that they're asking us to display the answer in percent, not in decimal, and percent rounded to 1 decimal place. Let me tell you how this would work. So let me open StatCrunch again, copy those numbers again. So it's going to be 0.86098. Let me stop here, and 0.88101 or 2, whatever. Now they want us first of all to write those as percents. Now we know that to write as a percent we have to move the decimal to the right. So this will read 86.098, and this will read 88.101. Okay. The next step is they tell us to round, and the final step, round to the 1 place. Notice here, they tell us round to 1 decimal place. But notice first that you have to write it as decimal first. Then you come and round to the 1 place. So when you try to round to 1 place, this is going to be 86.1, and this will be 88.1. Because here a 0 will make a difference on the right, but in here a 9 will make a difference. So the answer will be, as a percent, not as a decimal, is going to be 86.1, and the next one is going to be 88.1. So let's see if we can get this answer correct. Now the last one, and this question is a little bit tricky. What do the results tell us about the proportion of college students? And notice that in here it talks about college students who use at least 1 prescription drugs or medication. Notice that the problem is not really about college students. The problem is about people between the age of 57 to 85. And we don't expect college students to be in that age group. Therefore, this is kind of a tricky question. So in this case, if I try to answer this problem, I will choose C, because C says the results tell us nothing about proportion of college students. Now, if the question in here is about what do the results tell us about adults age 57 to 85, then we talk about it confidence interval. So we choose the option that is talking about confidence interval. Okay, and but this is just a question that is somehow written to trick you to see if you are focusing on what you're reading or not. So let's just check the answer, and it's a correct answer. I'm going to stop here, and we'll record more lectures later on.